Hello everybody, welcome back to Access Blockbusters and welcome to a quick non-spoiler reaction to the second to last episode of the MCU show, Daredevil Born Again. If you guys have not seen the episode, do not worry, this video will not contain any spoilers for the episode, but later on in the week we will be doing, as per usual, our spoiler discussion for episode 8 of Daredevil Born Again. So if you are interested in a more in-depth discussion and hearing my thoughts on the entire episode from beginning to end, make sure to subscribe, give this video a like, and let me know in the comments down below what you thought about the episode there as well. Without further ado, guys, let's get into episode 8, non-spoiler immediate reaction. Guys, I've been on a little bit of a roller coaster with this show, but it's finally starting to solidify. For those of you who haven't been following, just a little bit of context, I have really liked a lot of the episodes that we've been seeing, but I think that a lot of them are also pretty uneven. I really liked episode 1, but a lot of the later episodes 2 through 6, I think had really brilliant moments. The Punisher conversation between Matt and Frank, the ending of episode 6 with Muse, the fight scene between Muse and Daredevil in his lair, all of those things were fantastic. But I think it was sort of being outweighed by some episodes that were a little slower and some storylines that were maybe a little bit slower as well, including, look, I like the scenes with White Tiger, I like some of the scenes with Mr. Khan, but some of the episodes in the middle just felt a little bit unrelated to the overarching story. That being said, I loved episode 7. The last episode. Episode 7 was to me what the promise of this show was. And now heading into episode 8, I was anticipating, okay, is this show going to focus up heading into the last 2 episodes? And boy, does it ever. I will say, this episode to me wasn't perfect because I think there are some things here that I'm just waiting to see how they're going to manifest in episode 9. I think there are some things that are set up in this episode that are confusing. And I just think, I don't know if they're confusing for confusing's sake, just because they don't make sense in terms of the overarching story or in terms of the episode, or because they're going to be paid off later on in episode 9. So I'm still waiting to see about that. But there are some things in this episode that really had me gasping. And I think that what I loved about this episode is just like episode 7, it felt focused. There are things in this episode, there are scenes in this episode that are so tense, and there are storylines and characters and plot lines and subplots that are picked up from way earlier in the season that I really enjoy. And I'm really curious to see how they're going to end the season. There are some also really interesting real-world parallels that, yes, have been building throughout, but are really on full display in this first season of Daredevil as it wraps up. So I am looking forward to the finale. I think, again, there are some things that I'm a little confused about how they're going to pay off in the finale, but we'll have to see about that. And I do think that we get a very clear idea of where each character stands, and I am very much enjoying that as well. I think that Matt Murdock has a much stronger character point of view in this episode. I think that from the very beginning of the show, from the very first episode, I mean, he had the angle, right? He was grieving Foggy's death, and he was trying to decide whether or not to become Daredevil again. Again, I think that's gone up and down, but I think in this episode, we finally see how things are building. And for Kingpin as well, I think that he takes an interesting angle as well. There are other characters that surprisingly have much stronger storylines than I expected, and I'm very curious to see what happens there. So really interesting and good. I think good episode 8, penultimate episode. Not entirely my favorite of the season, but I don't think that's because this episode was bad. The entire time I was locked in. There were scenes where I'm writing and taking notes and going, this is really tense, and I'm really locked into this scene. And I'm just excited to see how they're going to pay it off. Because again, I think this first season has been a good building block. It hasn't been nearly as good as any of the other seasons of Daredevil, in my opinion. But I am still very excited to see how this season's going to end and how it's going to build on into season 2. Because I think season 2, based on everything that's happened in this series so far, is going to be really interesting. So I cannot wait for that. Guys, if you have seen episode number 8 of Daredevil Born Again, what did you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't, stay tuned to the channel. Make sure to subscribe, and we'll be talking about Daredevil Born Again later on in the week in spoilery detail as well. That will do it from me, from Access Blockbusters, and I will see you guys in the next one.